He simply wished to make an honest living, waiting tables with a gentle smile. But on this evening, one patron's cruelty made a typical shift unforgettable. One moment of humiliation, public, biting, and unwarranted, would unleash a series of events no one in the room could have anticipated. Because sometimes the truth isn't merely concealed. It's waiting to exact its revenge, when pride blinds the elite. What actually occurred that evening? And why did it cause everyone to wonder about what type of world we reside in? For Marcus, life wasn't glossy but consistent. Each morning he wrapped his apron, cleaned the tables, and welcomed strangers with the same affection he'd grown up on. The little diner he worked at wasn't much, but to him it was a lifeline, a venue where his work would be heard beyond his color. He walked with quiet pride, never demanding sympathy, never anticipating handouts. To most patrons he was simply the waiter. Behind the smiling face, however, was a human being with dreams of earning enough money to relocate his mother to a safer part of town, far from the dark shadows of poverty that appeared to haunt them wherever they went. It was on a Saturday night when the restaurant rang with the sounds of talk, laughter, and clinking dishes. The air was filled with the scent of roasted meat and warm bread, and Marcus navigated the crowd quickly, plates balanced with ease. He'd done this 1,000 times or more, each shift blending seamlessly with the last. To him, it was all just another night, until a rich man entered, drawing attention with every step. His watch sparkled under the lights, his well-fitted suit clean and crisp. He did not look at Marcus as a human being, but rather as a servant to serve him. Marcus had no idea yet, but tonight would not be over like all the others. There was going to be a whirlwind of embarrassment and reality that would challenge all that he believed in about respect, dignity, and the world. The rich guy, Mr. Harlan, sat down in his chair with a sort of arrogance that permeated the whole room. He did not glance at the menu. He did not respond to Marcus's friendly greeting. Rather, his eyes darted over Marcus with a smirking smirk that spoke volumes more than any words ever could. Marcus, accustomed to irate customers, bit his tongue and continued on. He entered the order, sped it out, and presented his customary smile. But Harlan didn't want service. He wanted power. And Marcus, unwittingly, had made himself his target. First came the complaints. "The water's too hot. The fork isn't shiny enough." Each time Marcus apologized and corrected it, even though there was nothing to correct. The other patrons looked on, their chatter fading as tension grew, but Marcus couldn't get upset, not here. Not where there were eyes to see. He knew how tenuous his position was in the world, how one misstep could end his employment. Then came the humiliation. Harlan dropped a $100 bill on the floor, staring at Marcus as if daring him to pick it up. When Marcus leaned down, Harlan sneered, "Guess you're used to that position." A low laugh escaped his lips, sharp enough to cut through the clatter of dishes. The room fell silent. Marcus's chest constricted, a flush to his face, but he compelled himself to stand tall, returned the bill wordlessly. Each moment of silence was as excruciating as a spotlight. Some patrons shifted in their seats uncomfortably. Others stared at the table in front of them. No one protested, no one intervened, and Harlan wasn't done. He batted his untouched plate away and berated Marcus for delivering the wrong food, insisting it be taken back. Marcus reviewed the order slip. It was just as he had written. Nevertheless, he took it back, his hands shaking, his mind reeling. This wasn't about service. It wasn't even about food. It was about wearing him down, piece by piece, in front of the entire staff. By the third round of false complaints, Marcus felt something he hadn't let himself feel in years: anger. Not the quick flash that disappears, but a slow, burning kind of anger that coils deep in the stomach. Yet even as it burned, he reminded himself, Stay calm. Stay silent. One wrong move, and you're the problem. But then the coup de grace. Harlan rose to his feet, voice lifted in accusation, telling Marcus he had forgotten his place. His tone was thick with venom, calculated to bury Marcus beneath the heavy stones of a system that too frequently allowed men like Harlan to go free. Marcus stood there, locked eyes with the man who so casually demeaned him, questioning how much longer he could stand it. The air was thick with tension. What nobody in this restaurant understood was that Harlan wasn't just embarrassing a waiter. He was staging the setup for a truth that would destroy the facade of superiority he wore so lavishly. A truth lurking just beyond the time. A truth that would upset the entire evening on its head. Marcus stood motionless, the sting of Harlan's words suspended in midair like smoke after flames. The entire restaurant was staring at him, but no one acted. No one said a word. The silence weighed more heavily than the insult itself. And then, what Marcus would never forget, Harlan snapped his fingers and motioned for Marcus to come closer, like he was a servant, not human. "This," Harlan shouted, pointing at Marcus, "is what you get when you allow individuals such as he to believe they are equals." The words hit Marcus like a punch. His chest constricted, and for an instant he was unable to breathe. He wanted to fade away, to walk out of the room, to never experience this kind of humiliation again. But his legs remained frozen, fixed by a combination of anger and fear. Phones emerged. Some patrons, now too embarrassed to remain silent at last, raised their cameras, snapping down everything that was said. The shame no longer remained within the four walls of that eatery. It was just going to spill out into the outside world. Marcus's supervisor intervened, but rather than standing up for him, directed Marcus to calm down and apologize to the paying customer. The betrayal was a cut deeper than the insults. Even there, even after years of loyalty, his dignity was expendable. For the first time that evening, Marcus's hands shook not with fear, but with a sort of strength he hadn't known he possessed. He actually looked at Harlan, really looked, and what he saw wasn't power. It was insecurity masquerading as cruelty. But before Marcus was able to speak, the door opened, and in stepped someone who had known Harlan far better than Marcus ever could. Someone whose arrival would destroy the lie that Harlan had founded his arrogance upon. The room hushed, waiting breathlessly for what was to follow, because the truth was about to emerge. And when it did, it would reshape everything. The man who walked into the restaurant was not unfamiliar to Harlan. No, he was someone Harlan couldn't help but notice, his own firm's senior partner, a man well respected in the community, and, most importantly, a man who had always been a champion of fairness. The room went on ice as he absorbed the scene, Marcus standing defeated, Harlan looming in artificial pride, and scores of phones recording the moment. With quiet but firm authority, he revealed the truth. Marcus's work ethic and humanity had been observed well before this evening. Unobtrusively, he had volunteered in community programs funded by the same company Harlan bragged about. The senior partner did more than know Marcus. He admired him. And now, to everyone's witness, he reminded Harlan that all the money and conceit in the world could not obscure the hypocrisy of prejudice. Harlan's face lost color. For once, he was at a loss for words. The laughter, the smugness, the sneering, all dissolved in the face of reality. The crowd that sat in stunned silence started to buzz, their faces turning not to Marcus as victim, but to Harlan as the embodiment of what was wrong. Marcus didn't taunt. He didn't yell. He just stood up straighter. His honor regained not because of revenge, but because of the irrefutable strength of truth. Nevertheless, the wound of humiliation would stay, a reminder of how quickly respect can be taken away due to the color of one's skin. And that's the true story. It wasn't about the cruelty of one man or the dignity of one waiter. It was about a society that still permits silence in the face of injustice. A society in which far too many Marcuses are humiliated daily without cameras to record it, without someone to intervene. The question that is left behind is easy but heavy. How many more such moments will occur before silence breaks, not in a restaurant alone, but anywhere and everywhere?